We're now on Dcad lesson 13C, continuing with drawing organization and sheet notes. And one of the things that we want to make sure we do from our previous lesson, which I didn't do it to finish, was to save. So it's a good idea to save, maybe every 10 minutes or so. Save as often as you do not want to lose. In other words, if you keep drawing away for an hour and something happens, a power outage or something, and you haven't saved, you've lost that hour of work. So you want to save fairly often. Any time that you do anything significant in a drawing, it's a good idea to save. So, having said all of that, there's a couple things that we want to do. When we look up here at the title bar, we're D0614T1. T stands for temporary. I use that designation because often in the early design stages, you may go through different incarnations and explore different options, and I assign a different T number to each one, so that way we can refer back to previous incarnations as we move through the drawing process. Well, we've pretty much pinned everything down here. I mean, we're working on working drawings actually. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to now save this drawing. I'm going to go click on File and click on Save As, and I'm going to change this to W1. The W basically says that it's a working drawing. So this is our working drawing. This is what I usually consider in the final drawing stages, and we're getting ready to actually produce our actual plot files that we'll be plotting out the actual large drawings on. So now I'm going to hit the W, and so now it's going to be saved as D0614W1. Click Save, and you can see up here in the title bar, it's changed it to W1. So I'm going to hit Control W just so we can zoom out to see the whole enchilada. And one of the things that I want to also do is create another drawing that's going to actually represent our second sheet in this series of actual drawings, which essentially involves at this point, we're going to have A1, which is a site plan, and we're going to have A2, which is most of the other drawings. Most of these other drawings on A2 will be at quarter-inch scale, but not all of them. We can actually reduce the size to 1/8-inch scale for like the roof plan, because it's a really simple drawing. Doesn't have a whole lot of information on it, and we're going to try to utilize the extra space on this sheet for an enlarged section drawing. The section drawing typically I'll make a little bit larger because there's details that you want to refer to or that you might want to see a little more clearly. So actually blowing that section drawing up a little bit can be very helpful for the people dealing with the drawings out in the field. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to actually save the drawing as a new drawing, and I'm going to click on File and Save As, and instead of W1, I'm going to add to the W1 a little space, and I'm going to call it W1A2, because that's going to be the actual sheet for it, and click on Save. And so now you see that it's been turned to W1A2. That means we can mess around with this and it won't affect W1 because it's saved and it's a whole different drawing now. So, and the reason I'm doing this is I'm going to be moving various plans around, actually drawings around on this sheet. And so a little bit ago I mentioned that we would be actually plotting out the roof plan at 1/8-inch scale. And so that can be a little tricky in drawing because what we're going to have is drawings of different scales on this single sheet. And since, I'm going to zoom up here for a second, and since our dimensioning is accurate, if we reduce the size of a drawing, it'll also reduce the size of the dimensions. Or if we increase the size of a particular drawing, it'll actually increase the dimensions. They're dynamic. So, in order to deal with all this for the roof plan, I'm going to hit Control W and hit Escape, so it's unselected. I'm going to go to Layers, and what I'm going to do right now is just call only the roof plan layer. So I'm going to click on Layer 30, and I'm going to go to Hide All, and then I'm also going to just open up the text and the support layers. So what we have here is the entire roof plan, and right now it's currently at 1/4 inch scale. But if I shrink this down to 1/8 inch scale, this text at 0.35 is going to become text at 0.175, and it's going to be really pretty teeny and hard to see. So here's how we're going to deal with this. I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom up on this whole thing. And so what I'm going to do is before we do anything, I'm going to take this text and select it, pull up the info box. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to change that text size, that dimension, to 0.7. And you'll see that it'll change a bit. So it's doubling the size, because in and back, by the time we shrink this to half its size, it's going to be back at 0.35. So I'm going to hit enter, and you can see that it's still 2 feet, but it's much larger. The text in the dimension is much larger now. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to select the other dimensions and just hold down Shift on them. And then I'm going to go to the same as command over here in the info box and click on that. That's a little pointy finger there. And click on this larger 0.7 text size dimension and click on that, and see how it automatically changed all the other ones. It's, same as. So the other thing I want to do is deal with the other text that I have to deal with. I want to double the size of it. And so both of these roof slope indicators, I'm just going to select them, and I'm going to put the handle in the middle. I'm just going to kind of put set selection handles, and then over here I'm going to actually hit K to snap to this line, and then hit enter. Now I'm going to increase the size of these things by 2. So I'm going to go over here to the selection zoom, because those are selected, and click on that, and I'm going to change the size to 2. That's doubling the size essentially, and you can see they're quite big. So but it'll be easier to see when we shrink this thing down. So I'm going to select this one and go to my handle and gravity move to it by hitting comma, and hit M, and just arrow down a couple of times, maybe 3. And then hit escape. Now I'm going to select this one, go to the handle, gravity move, hitting comma, hit M, and I'm going to take it up 3 full cursor steps, and then hit enter. So that's pretty big. I'm going to do the same thing with the section indicators. And so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to just select this one right here, and I'm going to put the handle right here at the bottom of it. So I'm going to go to set selection handles, right click there, because that's where when we increase the size of something using the selection zoom, it increases the size, expands it from the handle. So I'm going to selection zoom, and I'm going to hit 2. That basically doubles the size, and hit enter. And I can see if I do that on this one that the roof plan text and all that's going to be in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to select all this stuff here, and actually it's selected the A too, so I'm going to zoom up on that and move my scroll bar, hold down Shift and click on the A, and that unselects it. Control M to move back to where I was, and I'm going to go to my selection handle, gravity move using the comma, and hit M, and I'm just going to move this whole thing down and out of the way. Okay, so now I'm going to do the same thing to this lower section line indicator that I did up above. So I'm going to select this guy using a rectangle selection, set my handle at this point right here, right click to it, and then hit my scroll button to set the handle. And I'm going back to my selection zoom, clicking on that, and up here I'm going to enter 2 to double it, and then I'm going to hit enter. And there we are. So now I could also increase the size of all this, but I'm not going to do that, and I'll tell you why in just a minute. So these are still dimensions. When I click on one of them and you look at the info box, it's telling you right here there's the dimension. So if I shrink this down, it's going to change all those dimensions to half their original size. So let's just try it. I'm just going to select this whole enchilada here, and I'm going to use the selection zoom, and I'm going to go 0.5, which is half the size. 0.5, and look at that. So right now you can see that this is let me zoom up on that. That these dimensions have gone from 2 feet to 1 foot. So I'm going to hit Control Z to undo that, and Control M to zoom back to where we were. And so the way to solve that problem is to take each of these dimensions, and so I'm just going to hold down Shift as I select each one of them. Oops. Try it again. Hold down Shift. And I'm going over here to Selection Explode, and I'm going to explode them. So what that did is they're no longer dimensions. If I click on the text, it's just going to say it's text. And if I click on one of the arrows, it's just going to call it an arrow. These are no longer dynamic dimensions. They've been changed. They've been exploded into text and arrows, and lines that are a vector. Okay. This we really want to change this text though, and the reason is we want to change it from text to 2D text. So I'm going to select all of the 2'0" text, just the text themselves, and I'm going to go over here to if I can find it, to text convert, and I'm going to click on that, and it automatically turns it to 2D text. Now if I click on it, you can see over here in the info box it says text 2D. So that's exactly what we're after. So now I can take this this whole thing and shrink it down to 1/2 its size to 1/8 inch scale, and everything's still going to be good. So here's what I'm going to do though. Right here, the scale, I'm going to zoom up on this area, is still saying it's 1/4 inch. So we need to change that to 1/8 inch because we're going to be using the 1/8 inch scale for the roof plan. So I change that forward to an 8, hit enter, and that's good. Move my info box out of the way, click somewhere in the drawing, and Control M to zoom back out. So now I'm going to select this whole enchilada. And now I can use my selection zoom and set my handle if I want to select the handle anywhere. It doesn't really matter because it's going to be smaller. And select it and change the size to 0.5, which is half the size that it was originally. And notice that I did not select or change the title where it says roof plan, scale, and all of that. I'm just leaving that the same. So I'm going to so I've selected that. I've changed it in the selection zoom to 0.5, and I hit enter, and there it is. So now I can select my actual title and move it up. Hit M to move. And there's my roof plan. Now it seems real small at 1/8 inch scale because the garage isn't that big, but it's perfectly readable, and it saves us space on this sheet of paper that we're trying to utilize for as many drawings as we can get on it without having them to be overcrowded. I'm going to zoom up on this a little bit to take a look at a couple of things. Looks like our drawing size is still good there. So that's all looking good. So I'm hit Control W, and I'm going to zoom on out now. So now we have one drawing that's actually ready for notes and to be scooted around on the paper wherever we want it. Okay. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit L for layers, and I'm going to pull up the borders because I want to get an idea of where things are on the borders. And you can see that I just have active and named layers only showing. So I'm going to go down to layer 254, and I'm going to activate that and hit OK. And I'm just going to take this roof plan right now and just kind of move it, select it, and hit M for move, and just kind of move it out of the way because I don't know where I want to have it eventually. So now I'm going to hit L for layers, and then we're going to deal with a floor plan. and that's layer 1 through 3. There really are no fixtures in it. So I'm going to make my current active layer, and then I can highlight 2 and hold down Control and 3, and I can right click it and say unlock highlighted layers, and click OK. So here's my floor plan. So I'm going to go ahead and grab a hold of that and move that on over to the upper left hand corner here, about like so, and then just click, and there it is. So next I want to deal with my foundation plan, and I'm going to hit L for layers, and the foundation plan is layer 15 and layer 16 for its text. Click OK, and I'm going to select the foundation plan, and I want to keep it aligned with the floor plan just because it looks cleaner. So I'm going to zoom up on this a little bit, hit Z for zoom up on this, and I'm going to set a handle right here at the edge, which is also at the edge of this rear wall, and I'm going to go to set selection handle and just right click here and hit my scroll button to activate the command and to locate my handle there, and hit M. So now I'm going to go to this edge of the wall here and gravity move using the comma. And now I'm going to use my right arrow at full cursor step sizes and just arrow on over and try to leave enough room to the right for another drawing. That looks like it's pretty good, and hit enter. So now we have our floor plan and our foundation plan on this drawing. So I'm going to hit Control W. And next we have our roof framing plan. And so the roof framing plan is, I'm going to hit L for layers and scroll on down, and we want layer 36, and we might be in trouble there. I might have to hide these other roof plan layers, so I'm going to actually do that. I'm going to click on this one and hold Control Shift and click on the other 2, and right click, and I'm going to put hide highlighted layers, and then click OK. Oop, I'm sorry. Actually, it's the foundation plan that I should have done. So let me open up these other 2 for the roof framing. The foundation plan I want to hide, so I'm just going to actually click on those 2 and hide them. Okay, so I'm going to. So we have our roof framing plan. I'm just going to grab that now and hit M for move and kind of move it out of the way. Now I'm going to reopen, call up the foundation plan again. That's layers 15 and 16, and I'm just going to unlock and unlock. Okay, so now I'm going to click on the roof framing plan, and this is a little trickier seeing where to locate the handle, so I'm going to hit Z for zoom and zoom up here, and it's right along this wall line here. So I'm going to set my handle, go to set selection handle, click on that, and right click here at the corner of the wall, and then I'm going to hit my scroll button to set the handle, Control M. So now I'm going to hit M to move, and I'm going to zoom up here. Yeah, get a little closer, and gravity move using the comma, and start arrowing over a little bit. Hit the 0 to set a point, and hit Control W to zoom out. And let's see, I could maybe move it over just a little further. So I'm going to zoom up on this area here and get near my handle and gravity move using the comma, hit M, and give it another arrow or so over. Yeah, that's pretty good. Control W. So we have 3 drawings at the top of this single sheet, and we may adjust these a little bit, for neatness or readability or whatever. But we've done these 3 now. So I'm going to hit Escape. I'm going to save the drawing, And we'll be dealing with additional drawings on this sheet in our next lesson, and that concludes Dcad lesson 13C, having to do with drawing organization and sheet notes.